Hey, hello everyone. Have a good day. I Taki this mini projector, here will be a link. This means that now I can finally paint the guitar. And I start from projecting the final image onto the guitar. And I tried not to press hard on the pencil to avoid scratching the guitar. And the lines were not very thick and therefore it was not very clear what I translated and what not. Sometimes I had to close the beam of projector with my hand to see what happens. Well, it is worth noting that I chose this form. Not by chance. I drew such graphics not by chance either. All this comes from 80s, 90s, just when the guitar was at its peak, when it was on every album. Even on a pop albums, jazz, everywhere the guitar was the main instrument in music, it was changed a lot, improved precisely in terms of design and construction. And just then, the industry gave birth to the superstrat. Why super? Because there used to be such a simple guitar classic Fender Stratocaster with 3 not very powerful pickups. And then, when the music started to get more and more loud and distorted, people needed a completely different sound. Due to the fact that this guitar is made up of modules, it has easily replaceable parts. This turned out to be the most modified platform from which other manufacturers have grown up right now, who simply base their companies on the basis of this guitar. I start painting the guitar. I get a little worried. My hands tremble a little. The only thing is that it's not paper and the paint dries. Well, it takes a little longer. You have probability that you can get dirty, touch something with your hand, so you need to draw everything in small portions. And wait until it dries, so it will take a little more time. And then I remembered the important thing that I did not protect the edges, because I will go to the edge when I paint, and for this I will need such an adhesive tape, with which I will paste the entire sides of the guitar. And when I will, paint and strokes will come over, guitar will be protected. Then I peel it off, it will be all a single line that will cover the edges. And it turned out that this tape sticks well and enough. It is comfortable, but it's not going as easily as I thought. And so I glued it in pieces somewhere not very carefully, but it fulfills its function and let's move on. So the guitar progressively moved in its development as a structure. It also underwent changes in design. Aggressive and attractive forms, some kind of chopped sharp corners. These were bright colors, of course, and appeared the separate direction. Graphics on the body so the guitarists go on stage in a spotlight and audience just, wow, what is that in his hands? I hope that my guitar will have such an effect. What is it in his hands? And that's why I'm drawing a hefty pink brain. It turned out that I have a large marker size, but it is only large for drawing on paper. It is even a little lacking for painting over large parts with it, and it would be nice if I had the next big size to paint thick, big lines. I hope it comes out a bit like the guitars I'm inspired by. And just like that, such fame was assigned to several manufacturers. It was ESP, it was Jackson, it was Charvel. In general, all American and Japanese guitar manufacturers, which just at that time, on the wave of this popularity of rock music, began to make the superstrat. And of course, this pantheon also had a Kramer. And of course, it was also Ibanez, BC Rich. And then I realized that marker doesn't stick properly to the part of the guitar where I want to draw my ice cream. And then I remembered that I had wiped the guitar with a special Dunlop 65 tool, sort of like cleaning. But it also says that it's also a polish. I had to buy just such a can of denatured alcohol, 60% technical tinted. Do not try it on taste, it is only for technical purposes. I made a small example of colors on the back of the guitar, to see how it dries up, how it's holding. And on this pattern, I tried denatured alcohol. Does it wipe the paint or not? It turned out that it wipes just in 1 second. This thing smells deadly. Naturally, of course, it was better to do all this at the very beginning. The room is small and filled with this smell in a second. In general, if you clean with it, it is better to do it in a ventilated area. Well, from all these historical stories, it turns out that we now have a superstrat on the operating table, and I try to color it just in the style of 80s, in the style of flashy designs, 80s rockers and metalheads. I want to make such a homage to guitar look of that time. So I'm not just doing some random drawing on a random guitar, but I'm trying to show exactly the part of the era that was before, which developed the guitar in the direction in which it goes. That things inspired me, all these fonts, logos, all these topics, all this is collected here, and therefore I made such a drawing, and therefore I chose this particular shape. Of course, it's all in old style, but a little bit more cartoony and 2D graphics, because earlier basically everything was drawn on these guitars. Well, not all of them, but most of them were airbrushed. This gives the graphics such smoothness of the transition lines, all the graphics on the background, and the hardware, and all the clear lines. And when you draw such graphics with clear contours, such a cartoon like me, it's rather flat, straight, without transitions, without any soft shadows and corners. And it turns out that the more you draw contours, the more details come out, and the more it overdoses the attention of people. I even wanted to draw a grid on my ice cream to show that this is waffle, so there will be some squares, some kind of grid, but I did this on a sketch and realized that even this is already overloading the whole drawing. The most important thing in such drawings is, of course, the contours, because at first, when you paint with color spots, everything may not look very good, but when you frame it all in a black outline, it immediately plays with completely different colors. I wiped everything with alcohol, but marker doesn't draw on this part. The contour did not fit well, and I had to wipe it and draw one more time. Well, the next time I will not use any of the guitar special cleaners, because it can contain polish. It is necessary to immediately degrease everything with alcohol. Give it to dry several times. Look under the reflection light, that there are no streaks or stains. Everything needs to be prepared very well, because preparation is generally the most important part. Not only in customizing, but in everything. In filming, in everyday life, in travels. Preparation is a key. These smudges were the hardest part for me, probably the most difficult in this project, because everything went according to plan. And this part went from me head, and I got a little nervous. Well, the picture won't be complete unless you do something with the neck. I decided that I didn't really like this logo at the very beginning, when I was just trying to wipe it off. The letter P flew away. This was the sign that it can be removed completely. Well, if you delete or open something, even use some kind of removers, they should always be softer than your main surface. And since I'm working on the neck, I decided to impregnate it with linseed oil because the fretboard is uncovered. The oil closes the pores well and protects the open wood. And I decided that I would draw the word Strat here. Exactly the same logo was made by Fender in '80s. There was a model called Heavy Metal Strat. As far as my memory serves me, that is the only Tender model, which don't have the name of the company written on the head. Only Strat was written in capital letters, and there was a completely different black head. At first I wanted to write the whole project name, Brain Melter, but it's too many letters. They didn't look very good. And Strat is a reference to that canonical Fender, and everyone who plays the guitar knows what a Strat is. This is an abbreviated Stratocaster, and everybody knows that Fender also made such a model. So I decided to write that, but in a slightly different style. Everything goes as it was intended, and in the next series it still needs to be varnished, top protect it from the effects of the external environment. Assemble, connect, solder everything, and of course play it. Do not switch, everything will be in the next series. Subscribe to the channel, put likes, write comments. It's very important for this channel. I need some kind of intersection with audience, because YouTube works like this. So guys, please, be active and see you in the next series.